A very warm greetings from you, from us right here on ADBN TV to you. Well, as the world convenes for the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, that's the UNGA 80, global attention is sharply fixed on accelerating climate crisis, from intensifying heat waves and erratic weather patterns to rising sea levels and growing climate injustice affecting the most vulnerable. The United Nations General Assembly 80 thus represents both a moment of reflection on what has and what has not been achieved and a potential inflection, a point for ambitious action. More robust national determined contributions, scaled climate finance, strengthened adaptation and strategies and mechanisms for loss and damage are all under scrutiny. It is in this critical time frame we speak with Ebaide Omiunu, a Nigerian climate change and sustainability advocate. She's a lawyer by training and founder, or rather co-founder, of the Ebadebheki Initiative. Her work has focused on raising awareness of the Sustainable Development Goals, empowering teenagers via the Climate Teen Hub initiative, promoting secular initiatives and engaging with climate policy through both grassroots and outreach and grassroots outreaches rather and institutional partnerships. She's joining us from the US as she attended the just concluded UNGA. Hello, Ebaide. Good evening from Nigeria.
Hello, good evening, all the way from New York.
Right. Ebaide, so good to hear from you.
Yeah, so good to see you, Dr. Joy. And well
Right.
done on all the conversations. I see what you're doing.
I mean, I
Thank you
can.
for also amplifying our voices.
Oh,
Thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. So, UNGA 80, what would you say is different about this year's event? I mean, I know Donald Trump's speech is going to characterize a lot of the conversation, but beyond
Oh,
that speech,
yes.
what would you say it would be different for this year's celebration?
I must say that there was something about this year's UNGA, I must say. And that's because there was this shift. And you can literally feel the shift. And I mean shift from African leaders,
Mm.
shift from the people in attendance, the commitment, the passion. But one thing was clear across the conversations was that it's high time. We move from conversations, we move from talk,
Mm.
the big promises, the big numbers to actual implementation, to real action. And that was one conversation I must say that rang across all the rooms, side event I attended.
I know, I saw
People
all the
were
things you're
literally
doing.
tired. People were tired of the long conversations. I mean, it's high time we move from, the halls of the GA, the conversations along the sidelines during UNGA in the multiple venues we have, across Manhattan, to actual action, taking it back home to our roots, taking it back home to Niger State, back to Jigawa State, back to Edo State, back to Akwa Ibom, back to Enugu State. It was enough is enough. And I think that was the air, this UNGA. We had so many people in attendance, I must say. People that you won't even imagine would actually come for UNGA, and they
Mm.
were hell bent on joining the conversation. So I think these conversations this time around were actually more action oriented than just blueprints and talks and talks. People were, all for how do we implement. So the how was a question. How do we implement? Where do we go from here? Enough of the conversation. So yeah, it was a it was an actual moment for many people, for me as
Right.
well. I felt it. I won't lie. UNGA 80 didn't just feel like a regular general assembly, that we usually attend.
Mm.
It was more of a commitment gathering. People were hell bent on knowing, how do we commit? Where do we go from here? What are the action plans we have on ground? How do we take it home to the vulnerable communities? How do we drive this, for the benefit of everybody? So it was a different air, I must say. And
Oh,
I think
that,
some people will agree with me. Yes,
well, that
yes.
that sounds exciting. But by the
Yeah, 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 it
you would
was.
agree that we've been here before. where we are
Absolutely.
pushing for action. It's time to stop talking the talk and walk the walk. So what would you say are the resolutions you're monitoring closely, especially as an African attending this event and hearing this resolution and seeing how charged up everybody was? Like you said, I monitored from Nigeria and I saw heads of state and everyone seemed poised to
Yes.
seem poised to now achieve.
Yes. Yeah, so there was one, there was some air of confidence, like I said, in the air. And I won't even lie to you, even listening to our heads of states speak with so much confidence and so much demand. There was that demand. It wasn't just
Exactly, exactly.
the regular rhetoric, it wasn't rhetorical. We had a strong demand of this is what we demand as a continent. Enough of being marginalized, enough of being on the sidelines. We have to be on the menu. We have to be on the decision-making table. And of course, the conversations around the finance for adaptation came up. So we're saying, why does it matter? Why does it actually matter? Yes, these have been unfulfilled promises for a long time. We've had, people saying, "Oh, let's have the $100 billion commitment every year," for example. Who has committed?
Who
Who has
has?
committed? Yet many countries were still waiting. Where's it coming from? From who? So with recourse to what's happening in the Horn of Africa, the drought happening in the Horn of Africa, the flooding, causing displacements in Nigeria, and a lot of things happening across the continent. There was a strong demand, for this money, for this unfulfilled promise. There was that strong demand. I saw and witnessed our heads of state, standing up and demanding. When you're actually demanding, like, enough is enough.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So we are hoping. Well, the gear up is for COP 30, when the negotiations will continue. We're
Absolutely.
hoping, yes, because even the $300 billion that we
That
committed
was,
last year, not
yeah,
fulfillment
no
yet, not fulfillment
fulfillment.
yet,
Exactly.
not
And that's,
fulfillment, and we are projecting $1 trillion annually, and we only
that,
got $300 billion at last COP 29 in Azerbaijan. Now we're going to Belém. What happens in Belém? Even the $300
exactly.
billion commitment, how has it been fulfilled?
So that,
So these
that,
are the conversations.
that,
But
the,
there were some demands from the heads of state who were
absolutely.
very emphatic. Yeah,
Absolutely. I saw that and I was
yeah,
excited that it seems like there was an awakening, especially from the African heads of states. There was this awakening and the need to do more. Like I said in my opening, we're having heat waves here, drought here, and rising sea levels and all of that, which is just as concerning considering the infrastructure down in the global south. Are we ready? Are we ready for the consequences of this? But when we talk about this environmental financing or climate change financing, one of the many issues is loss and damage. Where are we? And what would you say is a realistic mechanism to close the gaps that this financing for adaptation often brings?
yeah. And one of the major ways to actually close the gaps is for us to be accountable and be transparent as much as possible. So we have pledges every year. Whenever it's time for COP negotiations, we have, of course, we have the country reps and the chairs, doing all the negotiations, coming to a consensus and all of that. It's very simple, if you ask me. Just the way some of us actually track the government budget and spending, this can be done as well. Publish the money and the milestones. So, a particular amount of money has been pledged, and we have an organization or a country that has pledged what? Okay, fine. What has that country pledged? Publish it.
Exactly.
Pledged what? And to who? Where does it go to? What is it financing? What project is being taken on with it? So we need to actually have report cards that both the United Nations and civil societies like us can actually track. So it should be something that is easily accessible. It is not a difficult, path to drive. If we need to actually drive financing, then it has to be transparent. And I'll just give a very simple example of what happened when in my training. I went for a climate justice training in Addis Ababa, and in between, as the training proceeded, we had a simulation where we had to imitate, the COP 30
Oh,
negotiations. And
that's
trust me,
exciting.
yeah. So we had the real negotiators coming to train us as negotiators, and we had to replicate, how these negotiations take place during COP. Trust me, we had to battle with countries like China and the US because they were not willing to shift their grounds. And countries like US, no, and China, although it was a simulation, but sort of sent a very it sent a message to us because I actually represented the like-minded countries, the like-minded developing countries. I was the chair of that particular simulation, and China was actually insisting that, see, if we must to shift ground and we must to give you more money, then we must make the investments and pledges direct. It
Right.
won't be through your government. And
Right.
our thinking was, why do we have to do that? And they're like, well, we know of the corruption that is actually prevalent in Africa, and that said something. It was a simulation, but trust me,
It touched home for
it was a
you.
scenario that likely plays out even in the real world. So what I think, even those who pledge, and even the UN, and even the CSO, what we would like to see would be accountability. So publish these figures, publish the pledges. Let's know where it goes to. Let's see the project it takes on. Let's see how it is disbursed. There should be a report card that is accessible to everyone who wishes to know what has been pledged and what is being used for. It's as simple as that.
Ebaide,
And
you're very right. I mean,
yeah,
accountability is everything, and most African governments have not necessarily given the world that transparency that gives you
yeah,
confidence. But then again, are we looking inwards? Because the funding is not as it used to be, uh, even though this is a time when we're saying, you know what, we're holding the global north accountable. We have so much, the consequences of the industrialization happening is on us. But are we also looking inwards? Are we being responsive and responsible?
that would be for us to hold ourselves accountable. That's we Africans, that's
Right.
the global south. We need to hold ourselves accountable in that regard. So even though I was actually in a climate justice training, we also had conversations around governments being responsible. So we can't be asking for money to rebuild our house, which you have spoilt,
Spoiled,
and
exactly.
and the money comes and we squander the money, because that's also a fear from those. Is it from the pledging now, from the pledger? Yes.
Right.
That's also a fear as well. That's okay, fine. How do you, even within Africa, hold yourself accountable? And I think it just brings us back to the theme of this year's UNGA: better together. Better together for development, for peace, for transformation. And the truth is, we can't go anywhere together if we are not united as a continent. Yes, it might sound funny to want to unite 54 countries, but we can be united in ideals. We can be
Absolutely.
united in the fight for transformation, for actual transformation. And this would take me back to the AU, to the African Union, for example. The African Union, even though I call them a toothless bulldog, imagine the African Union actually stepping up to its real power, to its actual power, to start with. As very obligatory as their protocols and their charters might sound, or how they want to defend it as being a persuasive document and not a mandatory document,
Right.
I still feel there's some horns that the AU can actually pull in this instance. And trust me, if people united can never be defeated. So imagine a continent as resilient as the African continent, as the global south. Once we decide to drive this thing together in the ideal form, like you said, looking inwards and being transformational and being intentional about the transformation we want to see in Africa, nothing will stop the continent.
I mean, we
I I
have.
I, I saw that play out firsthand in Addis Ababa, where we had virtually every country on the continent represented. I saw it play out firsthand that it is possible for a country, for a continent like Africa to be united and be transformative,
Exactly.
and look inwards and decide as a continent to be transformative. It is possible. So I
Wow.
mean, the work actually starts from us first of all. Look at what
Absolutely.
we look at what Rwanda and Nairobi and Kenya have done. They've opened their
Exactly.
borders, so we have a clear border for trading. That's one of the
Exactly.
ways actually. They
and
have
and
decided to
yet
say, you
and
know
yet
what?
by day these blocks don't even have, I mean, the regional blocks within Africa do not even
Yeah.
have that stronghold amongst the
No.
countries. What would your suggestion be moving forward, especially as we could come together helping each other with mechanisms and strategies, to mitigate climate. Each time I want to say climate change these days, I can't help but remember Donald Trump's speech.
Ah,
We'll get into that shortly. But yes, what I mean is, how can we help each other? How can there be more of a symbiotic relationship amongst each other? One that does not have distrust, which sometimes thwarts that noble goal of ensuring sustainable plans, and especially in financing for the environment and climate problems and consequences.
So to be very honest, I mean, it still boils down to, the requisite awareness.
Right.
I give a very simple analogy from what I learned as a law student, that you can't give what you don't have. You can't put something on nothing and actually expect it to stand. So it means that you cannot keep talking about development, climate change, climate finance, resilience, sustainable goals without even having the people understand what it means. And so how do you drive development when they don't even understand? And so it brings us back to who we are as a people. So even if you want to put a structure to the blocks, what are their ideals? What do they intend to actually achieve, even if they are structured? But first of all, if you ask me, it brings us back to awareness. It brings us back to structuring, back to the fact that you must be able to actually you must even know what it is, understand what it is, then actually accept it. So it is understanding, knowing, and actually accepting. The truth is, if you do not know, you cannot. See, there's nothing you want to say. There's nothing you want to say. There's nothing you want to do. No matter how beautiful a law is,
Right.
if the people do not understand what it means, if they don't know what it, how it should play out, and they won't appreciate and accept it, it would fail.
That's
It
true.
would definitely fail. So, for the regional blocks, really within a continent, how do we drive structuring? Should be the first instance, and what would be the benefits of that structuring? What will be the benefits of that structuring? Already, we have ECOWAS. We actually have structures already.
We
We have
do.
ECOWAS. ECOWAS is actually a block on its own, and ECOWAS is quite formidable. But within ECOWAS, what do they do within ECOWAS? What are their ideals? And even the ideals they have, the internal mechanism within the block they have. How many of us even know about the structure? Mind you, guess what? Even in Africa, how many people even know about the AU Agenda 2063?
Oh my goodness, we've had this conversation
Yes.
over and over.
How
These
many people even know about
global
that?
goals, our continental goals, and all
Yeah.
that.
So at the continental level, so many people don't even know that even exists. Then how much more now defining a block? Yes, if you ask me, from a smaller block, it actually transcends to the bigger thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that is where, to me, awareness, advocacy becomes really key.
True.
Education becomes extremely key. So make them understand what it is, and make them accept it. It's in that acceptance. It's in that acceptance that you actually see real change. And I'll give a simple example of the SDGs. Truly. 5 years ago, more than half of people that know about SDGs today didn't know about the SDGs.
Yes.
And in fact, that was what informed me to go on radio to start a proper SDGs awareness platform. And that's because even where I worked at the time, we have people very exposed and enlightened, and they were asking me, this ring you wear, because I actually wear the SDGs ring
SDG
on
ring,
my
right?
dress.
The
They will always
lapel.
ask, this ring you wear, these colors, what are they for? What SDGs? What are they? I hear people saying, just through your WhatsApp status, I knew about the SDGs, I knew about climate change. So trust me, really, and look at the momentum the SDGs have gathered today. But 5 years ago, 6 years ago, nobody. We just a very small handful that knew about what the SDGs actually meant and what it stood for. But look at today. It's a national anthem. Everyone is involved in SDGs. Even those that don't even understand it fully, they shall know SDGs. Everybody shall know, okay, SDGs. So
Right.
I mean, we must start from somewhere. If we need to actually, drive a well-structured block, within the continent, we must start from. We already have them. We have them, but we must be more people-centric. We must be intentional, and of course, strive for the ideal in the actual sense.
Now, UNGA 80 has come, it's gone, declarations have been
Yes,
made, agreements have been made, but let's look
but coming back
inward.
to our country,
let's come back let's come back to the country and talk about this accountability and holding government accountable for some of the declarations. I mean, day by day we keep talking about the many treaties, agreements, and pacts
so
that we are
many.
very, very, very quick to be part of. But here we are back home. How can we, civil society organizations, the media,
Yeah.
ensure that we do not let the momentum die?
To start with, you are doing it already. This is what it means to start with, not letting the momentum die. So, I mean, UNGA officially ended yesterday, and today, Joya Sonye, she's having a conversation on the UNGA 30,
Right.
UNGA 80. This is where it starts from, really. That's how the momentum continues. And also, I was talking to a friend today. I said, see, we can have a monthly series, where we can have conversations around the post implementation talks about the UNGA 80 and build momentum up to the UNGA 81. So we follow up on what is being or what is happening, the declarations that were made, what was done, and of course what people are doing. We'll just
Right.
have that monthly thing where people from all over the world join in a call and maybe okay, what is happening in your country? So from UNGA 80, you give us a report, and we'll just build a very strong community from that, and we'll actually track progress and records. And by UNGA 81,
Ebaide is back with ideas. I'm very excited
oh
about it.
well, we must.
I'm
We
very
must. I'm up for
this is
implementation.
absolutely, this is very
So
exciting because I mean when you do track, it will keep
yeah,
government, it will
yeah,
keep civil
yeah, yeah.
society, it will keep them on their toes to ensure that the
Absolutely,
people are
absolutely.
watching, people are talking about
Yeah,
this, people
yeah,
are
yeah,
looking at you. There's a
yeah.
spotlight. Please go ahead. I really really love the idea.
I mean, a very clear example is see what happened last year at the UNGA 79. There were a formidable pact to actually shift the world, beyond 2030 was adopted, Pact for the Future. How
Future,
many people even
right?
know about the Pact for the Future? But mind you, we have a group of young people who are going about, I think they're going in 2 states, talking about the Pact for the Future step down.
Absolutely.
Tell people that see this document exists and this is what it means for the people. For young people, this is what it means. For you, civil society, this is your role. This is how you can take it up. This is how you can be responsible. We're talking about it. And the good thing is, what part of that, those group of young people doing this
I
thing?
am really happy to be
Yeah.
part of the
So
consortium, of course.
yeah, so I mean, for civil society, really, there's actually a lot we can do. There's a lot we can do. And whilst you're doing this thing, I keep telling people, forget the recognition for now. Just do what you need to do. And that's because what you're doing, what you're facing is important. First of all, the people must come first. We're doing this for development. We're doing this for people. We're doing it for sustainable development. We want people. Well, see, when people ask me, "Everybody, why do you do what you do? You buy your ticket and go to UNGA." I say, see, I don't want to read it on paper. I want to be there like this and look at them in eyeball to eyeball and join a conversation. And if I have to lend my voice, I will lend my voice. If I have to criticize, I'll criticize. If I have to give a solution, I give a solution. And that is me being part of the conversation. And I take it back from then. I take it back home. And that's something I like to do all the time. I won't just go for these international events, conferences, sit down, just take pictures and come back. No, there must be some work to do. I must bring it back home. And you must
Exactly.
streamline back home to how we can actually tailor to our own peculiarities within the ecosystem. So first, what can we do? You have started already, Joy, as as a presenter, as someone in the media, as someone who is very passionate about development. You have started a conversation around UNGA 80 already, just barely 24 hours after it ended. Just imagine every news station in Nigeria talks about UNGA 80 and bring someone on here and say, okay, tell us about what happened in UNGA and what
Exactly.
were your solutions.
Exactly.
Imagine we doing it like every month, or then every month we probably do like a post UNGA 80 reflection every month, like a proper conversation on TV,
Tracking
post
of
UNGA 80.
activities as well.
So I mean, there's a lot we can do.
True.
The media, I mean, right now, come on, the world is online. The world is online. And the other day, I saw the president of the GA doing a what's that thing called? Doing content at Times Square. See, the world is online. It's the truth. She
Right.
was doing content. She was doing content at Times Square with the screen. She was doing her content, and that's because she understands something, that there is a shift. And right now, we have all kinds of people, different levels of people who are watching and who want to learn. And not the same method will work for everybody. Now, some old man wants some old president to say, what you doing at Times Square? But trust me, Gen Z will say, hey, that's true. This
Now,
is
now I am relatable. This is relatable. I can. These are.
so there's a lot we can do, really. There's a lot we can do.
That's really good.
Conversations, drill for implementation. Have that strong determination to ensure that we see representation. We could write about it. I've been started writing about it already. I wrote on my LinkedIn today. I wrote about how very emphatic and how very bold and demanding our heads of states were. At the GA when they are keep presenting their country statement. And of course, I did also remind ourselves, I also reminded everybody, and including them, that the talk should be beyond the GA. Let's drive for
Driving.
implementation. So yeah, You can write about it, talk about it, go to the media, take out one or two action, different projects can come up as a result of these conversations. I mean, come on, and just like as well, UNGA is also filled with good, meaningful connections if you know how to
Absolutely,
utilize them.
absolutely,
Yes, just know
absolutely.
how to utilize. I saw a young lady from Nigeria, during this UNGA, and she was actually driving a trade mission. A
Wow.
trade mission, yes, for Nigeria, and between Nigeria business and between some Nigerian business people, young business people, and some business people here in the United States. And how did she come about this? From last year's UNGA, she attended, she got this small gig. She you know
Mm.
she I mean she thought of it and built on the momentum, shared ideas with these people, and there was a trade mission, all fully sponsored.
Wow.
Yes, well, some of us bought our tickets after attending last year's UNG. Some people actually had their tickets and their accommodation sorted by connections they met from last year's
Mm.
UNGA. So
Not to
that is how
mention,
meaningful
not
these
to
connections
mention,
are. Yes,
not to mention
and she didn't just
enhance.
attend.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But
She brought she brought in something of value.
of course. And one thing is for sure, you never go to this event and return without value. There's reinforced
I
impact.
try.
There's reinforced impact that's, I mean, it's very obvious
I try. I
to
try.
what you
I
do.
try. I try.
Everybody, believe it or not, we've gone half hour into the conversation. We are discussing the UNGA 80 and the climate emergency, financing, justice, and global action. We've been discussing this with my guest, Ebaide Omiunu, climate change advocate, co-founder of the Ebadebheki Initiative. She's been doing so much around climate action, climate advocacy, sustainable development, awareness, and so much more. But Ebaide, are you still with us?
Oh, yes, I'm still here.
Oh, fantastic. So, the President of the United States, while giving his address as heads of state across the world gathered, I will not go into a lot of things that were said, but let's just mention the part where he said he referred to climate change as the biggest scam of all time. He in fact talked about how it was climate cooling at the time, and then it went to global warming, and when these scammers, as he put it, realized that I mean the weather is changing, he called it it was changed now to global change. So climate change. So whatever happens is climate change. Whatever happens is climate change. You have been doing a lot of work, and a lot of people across the world have been doing a lot of work in not just the advocacy and awareness, but ensuring that governments are accountable, that are responsible and responsive. That's the phrase I love to use when we discuss climate change, where governments understand, public office holders across board understand the consequences of not looking into climate change. How did that make you feel? Did it demoralize you? Because it did for me. I'm like, it's like we're taking 5 steps forward and 10 backwards.
I don't know for most people, but I think I sort of expected it.
Oh, you did.
Funny enough. Oh yes. Oh yes. I mean, the moment the United States pulled out from the Paris Agreement again, of course, he pulled out initially when he was in power, during his
The
first
first
term,
tenure.
and Biden brought them back. And the moment he assumed office, and the next day
Executive
that was
order.
his priority.
Right.
Come on, to be very honest, I would have been surprised if he said something different. To be honest, if he had said something opposite, I would have been surprised. So I wasn't surprised. But however, the disappointment was everywhere. You could see the tension, like the subtle tension, like what is this saying? Like, is it not saying? But like I keep telling people, I said, see, the very good response to this kind of rhetoric is to point to the real thing, point to the evidence. I mean, he doesn't live here. He doesn't, and of course, everyone knows that US is the biggest historical emitter of our time.
Absolutely.
And yes, and even though they keep running away from that responsibility, it will still catch up with them. It's as simple as that. But that's not even the contention here. The contention here is how did his statements make people like me and other people in the space feel? To be very honest, like I said, I didn't think otherwise. If he had said something different from what he said, I probably would have been surprised. I didn't expect him to come up then and actually support the UN or even support climate change. I didn't expect that from him. I think it's just the level at which he went, especially with the things he said about the UN, was what people really, people really got really all roused about. But to be very honest, his comment about climate change wasn't surprising at all. I mean, like you said, we have been on the field. The floods have displaced many in Nigeria. The drought has caused famine in some African countries, especially in the Horn of Africa. The climate disaster is before us. We are living the reality of climate change. So you can't, to be very honest, and I think for Africans, really, I think for we in the global south, we're not really moved because we are living the reality and telling us that our
Exactly.
reality is in the hot. Okay, then that's fine. We can't beg you to change your mind or force you to change your mind,
Absolutely.
to be very honest. So to be very honest, people like me in the space who see these things all the time because of the work we do and where we go to, we work with the evidence. So I'm besides I'm a lawyer, so I do things based on evidence.
Right.
It must be evidence based. As a result of that, I work with the evidence. It is what actually drives my advocacy today. Is what drives my passion because I have seen the number of people who are suffering. And guess what? Even I, living in the urban area, I am not still. I am not disaffected. I am also very
Exactly.
affected,
Exactly.
by the realities of climate change. So, what are we saying? To be honest, I mean, with what we see in Africa, especially in West Africa, and in our own country, particularly, there is no need for debate. We shouldn't subject ourselves to any form of debate whatsoever. We are living realities. We are seeing it firsthand, experiencing it. And you
However,
agree with me that
right.
you also agree with me that, I mean, the truth is the resistance he pushes. To be honest, I keep saying it all the time. It has no political or social justification. It doesn't. There is nothing political, social, or even empirical to say, oh, this is why I don't
I
believe
don't
in it,
believe
or
in
this is why
it,
I'm pushing.
right.
There is none. So as a result of that, since there is none, why waste your energy to have a debate about that? It's you leave it and face your work. And we have also seen, even within Africa, even how how the
Um,
green infrastructure is creating jobs for young people. We are seeing it. Is it the solar? My uncle said something some days ago. He said we're having a conversation. He said he foresees the whole renewable energy to be like telecommunications, where in a very short while, in a few years to come, we would have it so saturated that everyone will be
exactly.
able to actually afford alternative energy. We are getting there.
Exactly. I mean, as
We are
expensive as
getting
it
there.
is, some of us are already partially off national grid.
Yes, thank
Exactly.
you. And that's for those even in the urban. That is how phone started.
Exactly.
Phone was only a few selected people
Initially
were
for
able to
the.
actually own a phone. Today Nigeria, at least we can even boast of at least out of 250, almost 250 million people, we can say up to 200 million people have phones. Yeah,
That's true.
I'm not giving the correct statistics, but I'm just assuming this is an assumption. But I mean, my point is,
you
a large
you
percentage
don't
of
want you
people
don't
in
want to be
Nigeria
you don't
own
want to be
phones. Of
one
course,
you don't want to be one speaking
no, I don't want to give wrong statistics. I don't want to give wrong statistics. I like speaking with figures, and I don't want to give wrong statistics. But I know a good percentage. Let me use the word good. A fairly good percentage of Nigerians actually use phones now. Compared to in the early 2000s when it just came out, when it was like a luxury. But now look at it now.
I
Everyone
mean,
literally own a phone, and the same thing is going to be. My uncle predicted that the same thing will happen to alternative energy.
oh, it's
Now
it's already happening.
already, we're seeing people coming up with different ways and methods
Innovation,
of
right.
of uh, building what's it called, or building solar systems that are not as expensive as those in the market. So things
Right.
are changing,
But
and
but but let,
and
let me
jobs are being created.
yeah, let me take you
So
back to that speech. However, uh, you perceived the speech. You said it came out of a place of personal thought and feelings. However, that may be, there are financing gaps that are worrisome and a concern to everyone. We know, you know, and I know that a lot of countries look up to the US for direction as to where to fund, how to fund. If the US is taking it back, I mean, we were in New York a couple of months back, when we sat there and the delegates, the US
The UN
delegates,
rep,
the
yes, US
UN
rep.
US rep pulled away, announced rather, the US pulling away from sustainable development. And I looked at you and said, this is happening in our time. We're watching this happen. But it also has affected this funding. There's a funding hiccup across the UN. It shows that's not hidden at the moment. Do you think this would further exacerbate the issues?
Yes, it would. However, the truth is, I had that fear as well in March when we all experienced the withdrawal, the official withdrawal of the US from the SDGs. And of course, that also translates obviously to even the funding that comes in that regard for that particular purpose. But look at it from this standpoint. We already have commitments from organizations who are willing to, who are already, stepping in to assist. And they are saying, oh, you know what, on this aspect, which the United States are covering or to cover, will step up and actually take it over. So I hear from, well, not from the grapevine, but there's some conversation, and that's the good thing about being in New York.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Rub
yeah.
it in.
You're hearing things on, so what's happening in the world now? Is the world going to end tomorrow? Ahead, those kind of conversations. So we hear that, we have some countries who are about to step in to actually, divide that portion which the US, sort of have sort of, we don't know now if he has permanently abandoned, that funding aspect. We don't know, but we hear that some countries and even some organizations are saying, you know what, we'll come together and see how we can actually, assist with that portion so that it doesn't plunge deep, and make things really bad for the UN, and of course even for the development work across the world. So I mean, in as much as we won't lie, US was a major donor,
It was.
towards sustainable development goals and the financing for it. They were a major donor. But I mean, in the absence of them, what happens? Well, we would see how that goes. I hope that what we hear in trickles actually happens, that some countries are willing to come together and see how they can, even organizations as well, see how they can come in and fulfill that aspect that is now, that has now created a major vacuum. We are hoping that that actually works. But I mean, for now, we must say that yes, there has been some major decline as a result of that pullout. There has been. I mean, we have all watched how, areas that were being funded, I mean, like the USAID, which was even officially even withdrawn, not just even,
Honestly.
yes, yes. And of course, even the USAID also had so many organizations they were actually catering to, and how they have all had to shut down, jobs had to be lost, and people had to go back to square one. So that start looking for jobs and all of that. We have seen that happen. But as everything, I believe that there's always some way out. And people are beginning to find their feet back. Some organizations are beginning to okay, find alternative means of funding, while some have folded up, some are actually partnering up. I hear, especially within the CSO space, I hear some people are partnering up, while some people are, trying to get alternative means of funding. So, but somehow there'll be a way. Oh yeah, yeah, yes. The US is one of the superpowers of the world. We will not even lie. When a super player like the United States actually steps back, a
There's
lot
a
of things
ripple
will be
effect, of
affected.
course.
We can't take that away. We can't take that away. I mean, prior to now, the US was seen as what's that word? Of course, their slogan, "the God's own country," became a penchant, for everything civilization and everything great. And so they'll tell you, oh, you want to do so well in life. Oh, by all means, try and say you can migrate to the United States. But of course, we know how that has turned up and turned out as well. I won't even
Right.
delve into that. But when it comes to the funding for sustainable development, we have seen the decline, we have experienced the decline, we have seen how everything has been cut short. But at the same time, we know that somehow things are being done, a lot of things are being done, and behind closed doors. And we just hope that, very soon we'll see how it materializes. But for now, we are hopeful, we're working within what we have. We are partnering up as well. Collaborations are happening across board, and let's just see how that goes. But we must admit that yes, there has been a decline. There's no doubt about that. The US and like I said before, the US has always been like a blueprint. Let me use that word. Once the US sway towards a direction, of course, you have a lot of countries and even organizations wanting to also sway towards that direction because they believe the US believes in it, then it's
Yeah,
something
then
very
it's something
viable.
very viable.
Yes,
Yes, we've
yeah,
had
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
contend
We
with that in,
we must.
especially in the development space, where it seems like the US
Yes,
must
yes,
give the strategy. And sometimes I
absolutely,
remember a lot of civil society workers and personnel would say, "Come on, let's be dynamic. There are a lot of peculiarities to say Africa,
absolutely.
and let's look inward." So
Yes,
yeah, we have always looked
yeah.
there. But again, he said something in that speech that unfortunately, well, resonated with a lot of people. It was talking about the stronghold that the UN still enjoys with countries. There are crises all over the world, and the UN has been unable to, start a ceasefire. Although he gave himself credit for a lot of, a lot of what he called progress. But yeah, a lot of people resonated with that. There is crisis across the world.
But the UN is not folding its arms. Actually, the UN was created in 1945 for that. In fact, the basis of the UN Charter with the peoples
Was
was
after World War
instructive.
Two. Yeah.
Yes. That's the preamble of the UN Charter, the with the peoples. It was for the sole reason of restoring peace and ensuring peace
And
that the
development,
UN was
right.
created. And we must agree that one of the reasons we don't have a World War III today is because of the existence of the United Nations. They are doing their bits. The UN is not folding its arms. That's something I want people to understand. That is the reason why they were created in the first place. And they have not folded their arms in any way. They are doing what they can. They are doing what they can. They are salvaging what they can. And like I said, and I'll say it again, the reason we have not gone to World War III is because of the United Nations. I will say it anywhere. They are doing what they can. The peacekeeping missions are still on. Not everywhere, but at least they are still on in some places. So I mean, yes, things might appear slow. Yes, things might appear slow. But I follow the United Nations Secretary General all the time. What's his name? Antonio Guterres, and I see his comments, and his comments and thoughts all the time on these various
Issues.
attacks and wars happen. Yes, I see them. So they are not folding their arms, they are not oblivious, they are not, because I mean that is why they were created in the first place. That is why they were created in the first place. That's the only job they have to do. That's
Right.
their mandates. So are you saying that they have veered from their mandates? I do not think so. I do not think so. Yeah, things might appear slow, or things might appear like, oh, they are not working, but I do not think the UN is actually folding its arms. I don't think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They are
So,
not.
so
They are not. We have
Ebade,
seen. Yeah.
okay, so we have got to the concluding part of this conversation, and
Oh,
before I
we
let you
have.
go, I want to know what you're charged. You're coming back to Nigeria with.
Ah.
Are we going to have adult climate hubs? What's next for Ebadebheki Initiative?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, a lot is coming already. We are already working. In fact, we started working. Putting all the concepts and the action plans, action plans, the timelines, deliverables, trying to put everything together so that we start work in earnest. And yes, we're not folding our arms. We would remember. I came from the climate justice training. Then from there, I got into the Africa Climate Weeks, organized by the UNFCCC and the African Union. I had that as well before also joining, of course, delegates at the United Nations General Assembly. So to be honest, it's been
you
a
skip
it's been a whole
you
ride. It's
skip
been
the
a whole
UK.
ride from August
Ebade,
from
you skip the
August to
UK trip.
September. From August to November to September, it's been a conversation back to back. And of course, while living in the UN here as well, I ensured that I had time to actually attend the New York Climate Week. Some of their sessions that were
Right.
very interesting. And also there was a climate summit even inside the UN as well. So I mean, I've been following up on the climate conversations, what we need to do, what needs to be done, and of course our roles as well. But I mean, I keep saying everything all the time. Let's commit by all means. Let's see how we can
Absolutely.
translate these conversations, these promises, these long talks, this well-defined grammar into action. So I am
Action.
coming back home, to bring value as usual. I do not go to these places and just fold my arms and come back and say I've attended and take good pictures. I must come back and do something. I must come back and relive those moments and see
Absolutely.
how I can drive momentum. Like I said, for you have started already. Once I come back as well, we'll have these conversations and see what we
Live,
can do to
absolutely.
actually, yeah, let's see how we can actually, let's see what we can do to build the momentum
Mm-hmm.
up to UNGA 81.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how we can hold countries, even our own country, accountable. Our vice president came and also gave a
Very,
very good
very,
speech as
very
well.
good
I must say,
speech.
yes. I mean, shout out to the VP Shetima. I won't even lie. He's a good communicator. He was able to also, with so much emphasis, give the Nigerian statement. And of course, he also mentioned our NDC, our NDC 3 point. Is it 3.2 now?
Yeah.
That has been, yeah. Our NDCs, our new NDC has been reviewed, and of course, we're as good as ready for COP
Mm-hmm.
30 and all of that. So yes, I mean, I have been following up on this, on the climate work and the conversations, and even in the speech, I was just waiting for him to mention the NDC. And when he mentioned, I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, there it
yeah. I
is.
was like, yeah. You have now represented, yeah. So yeah, I mean, to come back home and see what we can do with these conversations. What can we do in our own space? What projects can we come up? What drilling down, can we do,
Mm-hmm.
within this space? So the work continues. The
The
work
work continues.
continues. I am
And
pumped. I am charged. Yes, and of course
oh, it
we're asking for
shows.
funding. We're demanding funding. Also, we're
That's
demanding
that's
funding.
exactly where I want to go by the funding,
We're
because
demanding
be-
funding. Yes, 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 yes. We're
because
calling on everybody
as
to come join us.
noble as what we do is, as noble as it is, we have conversations. Funding would accelerate everything we're doing.
Absolutely.
So, do you think you have suggestions that would maybe enhance our strategies for funding, or?
Oh yes, I am. In fact, I'm about to push out an article now. It is ready, and that's actually on climate finance
Oh,
and
okay.
um, what the green finance, green um, Green Climate Fund can do. That's GCF, and also what the Climate Investment Fund can also do as well. And the idea is we have these big funders,
Exactly.
who are looking at the big numbers. They want to actually they want to finance projects from 500,000, 1 million to like up to like 25 million US dollars. No, we have people. I had to for this particular article, I had to reach out to some people in my class who are doing amazing things in their different countries,
Mm-hmm.
and I got up to like I got serious pointers from people who are doing amazing work where 10,000, 20,000 US dollars will make a whole difference. You'll be surprised
Right.
that to train maybe like 100 farmers, it doesn't like $10,000 to do something that would be
Be
really
so
impactful to those 100
impactful,
farmers.
right?
So those small scale, how do we drive simple access to finance for them without them going through the hurdle of going through the big, what's that thing called? All those big applications where you have to
Mm.
submit this, submit that. No. How can these funds, the green climate funds, for example, the CIF, I mean, how can they drill down, to this small scale infrastructure where people just need even as little as 20,000 US dollars to do something impactful and meaningful, and you will see the result. It's not government giving you report, and no, you are seeing the result of the impact. So I'm currently working on that. Currently working on that to see how simple funds can be accessible, to people who are doing actual and real work. I have a friend
Exactly.
who works in the IDP, and what she's doing in the IDP is teaching the women how to turn food scraps into fertilizer. Just
Wow.
imagine. Yes.
Organic
Now,
fertilizers.
yeah, and her name is Awele Otako. You can imagine what Awele would do with 10,000. She said, "But with 10,000, I'll do X, Y, Y." So these are the real life stories we need to reflect in, in these conversations to say, "Hey, look, we don't need 25. I don't need $25 million. What for? I don't need $25 million. I don't even need $10 million.
Just
Well, I
build,
need
just
like $1 million. If you give $1 million, I know what to do with $1 million. But
absolutely.
here's the point. The point I'm trying to make here is I don't need the big money to actually
Mm.
drive real change. No.
And there are a
So
lot
so
like you who just need just
yes,
enough
yes,
funding to
and
help their
yeah.
community one at a
So can you
time.
imagine? I'm telling you, I can point out to at least 200 young people like myself across West Africa. who probably just give us a total of $22,000 each, and we would turn things around in terms of climate change, and of course climate work, and we would show evidence of what we're doing with the money, real time
Real-time
impacts.
impact,
Yeah.
exactly. Ebaide Omiunu, thank you so much for being part of today's
Thank you for
edition.
having me.
It's
Thank you
it's
for
it's
having
always
me.
wonderful to, it's always electric when you have to discuss climate change. It's
It
wonderful.
is
Well
well.
done, well done for the
Thank
work
you
that
very
you
much.
do.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
I look
Thank
forward
you.
to your
Thank you.
return. There's so much work to do. I was
So much.
following you
So
and all
much.
the things. So thumbs up, thumbs up.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So this is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Just Live. We've been discussing climate emergency, financing, justice, and global action. Until next time when I come your way, have a wonderful evening.